All right, so before it left theaters, I finally got around to seeing I Can Only Imagine 2, and this is a really, really good movie. Christian movies, for me, my opinion, are, they range from outright cheesy, ridiculous, to, oh my gosh, this should like win awards. There really isn't an in between, right? It really isn't an in between. But my personal opinion has been that Christian movies, as of late, right, and it's a big reason why I even started this channel. Um, Christian movies are turning a corner where we are producing really, really good content. I know Solomio, which I wanted to do a review on, didn't get the chance to, but it was like rated like the number one comedy in the past decade, I think, like rom com. And that comes from a Christian type company, right? I know they're Mormons. Don't get on me if you're a Mormon. But it comes from a place that has foundational Christian beliefs, and they made this movie, and it ended up being the number one rom com in like the past decade. So Christians are out there, and we're starting to make good content, which is great because Hollywood has their own issues and their own problems with the content that they're making. Not only is it like agenda pushing, but also they just seem to just not be able to make any good stories, especially original stories. But this movie, right? I Can Only Imagine 2, I would give it probably an 8 out of 10. I think it was that good. I think it's kind of weird why it's called I Can Only Imagine 2, because while they do play, little bits of the song in like the soundtrack, um, one, it has nothing to do with the movie. And then two, pretty much, especially towards the end, you get that this whole story, so a little spoiler here, but you get that this whole story really is how Mercy Me, the band of which, this movie's based off of, created the song Even If. So I probably would have titled this movie Even If. Would have used the same people from the first movie, bought them all back, but I would have called it, Even If. I wouldn't have called it I Can Only Imagine 2. But I get, the familiarity of it. People were like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I saw the first one. I'll go see the second one. I actually didn't see the first one. But there are so many different flashbacks in this movie that I feel like I watched the first one, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know what the first one was about. I'm assuming it's about the creation of the song I Can Only Imagine. But I feel like I got that in this movie because there were plenty of flashbacks. And the reason why I feel like I got that is because this story mainly centers, which I'm assuming the first one did as well, around a father and son relationship. So yes, there's music. Yes, it ends up being about, the song Even If and the story and everything that took place. But really at the heart of this movie, it's a father and son movie. It's a family movie, and the relationship between the father and son, and that it's strained. We see at the beginning that relationship between the father and his son, as his son is probably maybe like a toddler, maybe just slightly a bit older, and then we get a time jump in which he's basically an older teenager. And yeah, there's issues, there's problems that take place. um and there's this particular thing that happens. I don't want to make a spoiler out of it, but there's a certain thing that happens, which medically, which kind of shifts the relationship between the dad and his son, which carries on, in the time jump as they're older. I think it's like 10 years later, from there. But yeah, and so you see that unfold throughout the movie, right? You get some good heartfelt moments in it. Milo Ventimiglia, I think that's how you pronounce his name. The guy who played Jack in This Is Us, the TV show, which was a good show. He's in this movie. And he plays a very important role into the creation process of the song, even if. And there's a huge story that takes place with him. Again, it pulls on the heart, all this. I highly recommend for you to go and watch this movie. 100%. It's not a movie I would take. It's for like kids, toddlers, obviously. But just in case, I think this is a movie that deserves your attention, right? You need to like be invested in watching it. So limiting distractions, bringing your little kid to it is probably not the best idea for it. Also, it touches on themes such as, death and suffering and something, and, along those lines there. And so I don't know if a kid will fully understand that. So, your kid will probably be watching you bawl your eyes out and just be wondering, like, why are you crying? Like, I don't understand. Because it's that touching. But again, I highly recommend that you go and watch this movie. To me, this is the formula for Christian content. Again, when it comes to like those old Christian movies that I can think of, like they were just so cheesy. Like so cheesy. Whereas this is based on a true story. It's based on a very popular Christian band that people know. And like they made a movie out of it and told a story on it. And it's 100% great. And yes, God is referenced, right? There's scripture. Yes, but it isn't, it isn't preaching. It isn't preaching. And I think that's very, very important. It isn't preaching. It's not shying away from the faith, but it also isn't trying to like shove it down your throat the way old Christian movies, and even some that still exist, did. And that's very important because while it's important to make movies for us, we also want to make movies and content that even an unsaved person can watch and get connected with and can see our faith and in its action and how we actually, I think most Christians go about when we're faced with these tough, trials and tribulations, versus the old cheesy way that was always being done in Christian films. And so I think this is the model. There are plenty of stories out there. In fact, there's a story that's referenced in the movie about the creation of the very popular hymn, It Is Well With My Soul. And I won't go into it, but go and look it up, right? Look up the background of how that song was created. It Is Well With My Soul. I mean, amazing, heartfelt. Like you try to put yourself in that position and you come away pretty much, if you're honest with yourself, you come away with, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that if I had gone through the exact same thing that the person went through who wrote the song. If I was in that same position, I probably would not have written that song. That'd probably be the last thing on my mind to do. So go look it up. I mean, I hope that's a good tease if it makes you interested. Go look up the creation of It Is Well With My Soul and the phenomenal story that takes place. But that's a good example of we could make a movie about that. There are so many stories that we can tell. We don't have to be limited to the let's save the gang member, let's do them cheesy, infidelity. It's like we don't need to do, we don't need to hit that hard. There are regular stories out there, regular emotional, impactful, common stories that people who aren't of the faith can see and resonate with, that we can create. Those stories exist out there, and I think this is one of them. So I highly recommend, if you can. I know it's almost out of theaters, but if you can, go watch I Can Only Imagine 2. If you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and watch it. Highly recommend. 8 out of 10 for sure. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm kind of late to the game with the movie, so let me know if you've already watched the movie and what your thoughts are on it. I'd be excited to hear that. But as always, guys, I appreciate y'all. Peace.